What's up, guys? Today I want to talk about how much does your homeowner's insurance actually cost in the state of North Carolina. Now, I've talked about homeowner's insurance before, and I go over it a lot in my blog that I've written on the website, but we're going to talk today specifically about how much it costs and the factors that influence what you pay for the protection you get from homeowner's insurance. So come along with me and let's get into it. And just a tip, I'm gonna go over actual quotes with actual numbers at the end of this video, so make sure you stick around for that. Okay, so the first factor in how much it costs to insure your house is the value of your house. Now, you're probably thinking, of course, that's the most logical thing that you guys could say. But I'm speaking in a very specific way. I'm not talking about what someone would pay for your house, right? That is actual market value of your house. What I'm talking about is replacement cost. Now, this is what insurance does pretty much with everything, but specifically with your house, it is how much it would cost to rebuild your home if you had a total loss, or in any smaller amount, what it would cost to rebuild that section. So replacement cost value is different from market value. So the larger your house, the more it's going to take to rebuild it, because there's going to be more materials, more square footage, more construction. The other way that this affects how much it costs is material. So different kinds of materials are gonna be more expensive to buy, more expensive to install, more expensive to use. So if you have more expensive materials in your house, it's going to cost more to rebuild it and therefore gonna cost more to insure. So for example, if you've got gorgeous stonework on the outside of your house, if you've got architectural shingles on your roof as opposed to regular shingles, maybe you've got tile up there, something like that, all of those are going to be more expensive to use and rebuild, and therefore it's going to be more expensive to insure. So materials, that's another way that you're going to have a higher cost associated with it because of the nature of your house. The third thing that falls under this category is the age of your home. Age affects the materials used. So if you look at it like this, older homes used different materials in construction. They used what was available then, what was common then, and those may not be the materials we use often now. So things like plaster walls, right? Things like brick on brick construction, which you usually don't find anymore. So there are things that happen, the things that they used to use in older homes, and since we don't use it now, it's more rare. You know how that works, it's more expensive. So older homes typically are more to insure. The value of them from a reconstruction point is going to be higher. And so therefore that's gonna factor into how much your homeowners insures. So to go back over it really quick, for value, think the size of your house, think the materials used, and think about the age of the house. It's gonna give you a nice quick way to think about what it might cost to insure. Okay, the second big factor that I'm gonna talk about is location. Now, again, this is gonna be something that's gonna be pretty easy to understand because we always are told that location is the most important factor in your house and how much your house is worth. This also affects how much it costs to insure, but for different reasons. There's something called protection class, and protection class essentially means how close your home is to emergency services. So if you live out in the country and you are miles and miles away from a town, you may also be miles and miles away from a fire department. You also may be miles and miles away from a fire hydrant, a source of water. These things are going to affect how easy it is to put out a fire or to get other emergency services to your home to prevent or to address an accident. That affects your home when it comes to insurance. So if you live far out, you're going to have a different protection class than someone who may live in a city who's very close to emergency services, very close to fire departments, and probably has a fire hydrant right outside of their house on their street. The other way that location can affect your home is that location determines, at least in general, the kind of risks that will be associated with your home and what you are exposed to. So think about if you live near the beach, you're probably going to be much more likely to encounter a hurricane, severe storms that cause things like storm surge, things like that, than you would be if you lived up in the mountains. All right, so the third way that location affects the cost of your homeowner's insurance is this: the urban and rural divide. Rural. And the way that affects you is this. It's similar to what I talked about earlier with location, right? Except in a weird way, the inverse of that. Because if you live in a city, you are exposed to different kinds of risks than your friends and neighbors that are going to be out of the city and the country. You have a greater likelihood of experiencing crime, or for example, of having fire spread rapidly through a neighborhood, where if you live out in the country and your nearest neighbor is a mile away, you're probably not gonna have any sort of residual fire come over there unless it's the end of the world. Newsflash, end of the world, probably not covered by your policy. Okay, so the third factor that determines your homeowner insurance cost is claims history. This is everyone's least favorite, and I talk about this in a lot of different blogs and videos. But the simple fact of the matter is, if you have a detailed and deep claims history, so if that means you've been filing claim after claim, you are going to be more expensive to insure, because the way the math works, you are more likely to file more claims in the future. And for better or worse, insurance is still a for-profit industry. They take those profits not only to pay their employees, but also to go ahead and pay back claims that happen in the future. So really it works out for everyone, but for you in this particular instance right now, what it determines is if you have a lot of claims, you're gonna be more expensive to insure, especially for your house and your homeowner's insurance. So more claims equal more expensive, less claims equal less expensive, but this is an opportunity, because if you have very few claims, you typically get a discount. In fact, if you have no claims whatsoever, you almost always get a claims-free discount, so that is excellent. They reward you for being safe and for taking care of your property and making sure that nothing bad happens. All right, I told you guys I was gonna be doing some real quotes. So the first quote, which you can look at on the blog, is for a home that's just under $200,000 in value. Remember, that's replacement cost. Now, I'm doing all these quotes with one of our companies that we really love to work with called Homeowners. We love all of you guys if you're watching this, all of our companies equally. Don't take it personally. That being said, so if you look at this house just under $200,000 in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, this is going to run you under $1,000 I believe it's $850 or something like that. So very reasonable. Now let's look at this second example. Okay, so our second home is worth about $260,000 in replacement costs. So you'll also hear us say coverage A. Coverage A means the dwelling, the house itself on the property. So for all of that being covered, you're looking at about $1,250 a year, which again is a great deal. Keep in mind, I have no claims. I have a claims-free history, so that's a big factor. And credit, which check out the other blog attached on this video, and you'll see that credit is a huge factor in all kinds of insurance, but I'm getting a little off track. Let's look at that third example. Okay, so here we go, the big boy, big, nice, wonderful, gorgeous house worth $450,000. P.S. I don't own all these are just sample quotes. This home to insure is going to be about $2,200 a year, $2,200 a year for all that coverage. Now that's great, right? I mean, like I didn't even get into all the liability on these policies, but this is a ton of coverage that if you have a great claims history, you have good credit, you are a customer that one of these companies really wants. And so Homeowners looks at this and says, this is going to be a great risk. I want to go after that. I want to support this person. So we're going to offer them this amount of coverage that really is wonderful for only $2,200 a year. That's it from me, guys. Thanks so much for watching. This is how much it costs to insure your home in North Carolina. Hope you learned something today. If you did, give us a like, or why don't you subscribe to the channel. And as always, if we're not helping you with your homeowner's insurance, we really should be. So go ahead and click as well on the big link that says quote. Let's get you quoted. Let's get you in the Alliance family and get you the protection that you need from people who love to help people just like you. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.